I would like us to get clear to each other and fair to each other. When you call a budget committee a sin of crime and corrupt, let's come out clear. Who does what in the process of budgeting? A budget comes to the House. Allow me to speak, because you are speaking, I didn't interfere with you.
First allow.
Procedure. Procedure, Madam.
First it.
Okay, okay.
Honorable colleagues, I've come through a chair.
It's okay.
So colleagues, the issue is simple. Let's remind ourselves the process of budgeting so that we point a finger and identify enemy correctly. So let's remind ourselves that a budget comes to the floor. When it comes to the floor, it's referred to sectoral committees, which sectoral committees interrogate the budget seriously with the entities responsible. The sectoral committees make reports to the floor, which floor debates the sectoral reports and recommendations and refers all of them to budget committee for harmonization, reconciliation, and make recommendations. Colleagues, we must all get informed that any recommendations made by budget committee are parts of the reports from the sector committees. And for your information, we started from the budget framework paper, which is budget framework paper recommendations were up to 20. Why don't you want me to bring this out? Why don't you want this to come clear? No, I'm not debating. I have not gone to the bill. I have a right to talk as a member. I have a right. Why? I will not sit down on your orders. I can't.
Honorable members.
Right,
Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable Leon. Honorable Leon, allow the chair to finish. We are
all members. No. Why is it becoming bitter when we are bringing the issues clear? Now, colleagues, we start with the budget framework paper. And the process of recommendations, we capture recommendations for unfunded priorities. The unfunded priorities are presented by ministers. The ministers present a budget framework paper with recommendations to the sector committees.
Honorable Chair.
And the total for, right honorable, let's get it clear. The total for budget framework paper recommendations was about 23 trillion for unfunded priorities.
Honorable Chair.
Now, by the time the budget estimates came, again the same process and the recommendations, we shall come to that. Hold on first.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair. Chair. Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair. First give him to present.
Honorable Chair, I have heard the Honorable Chair budget.
Honorable Minister, can you give us justification? Honorable Minister, check your iPods. Members.
I wish, Madam Chair, I wish to present the justification for reinstating the funds that were reallocated by Parliament on the budget for financial year 2024-2025. And specifically, under Vote 008, there was transfer to other government units, specifically capitalization of Uganda Development Bank, 30 billion. Our justification to reinstate this is that UDB is still undercapitalized. As at the end of December 2023, UDB's pipeline of approved projects was worth Uganda shillings 1 trillion to be invested in key priorities of wealth creation, agro-processing, value addition, manufacturing, tourism, and mineral beneficiation. It will also support youth-led enterprises, manufacturers, and provide working capital for exporters and those involved in import substitution. Another area of reduction was transfer to other government units, capitalization of agricultural credit facility, 20 billion. Our justification for reinstatement is that the agricultural credit facility is undercapitalized and yet is supporting the agro-industrialization program. The funds required to finance the approved pipeline loans at BOU amounting to 154 billion against the cash of Uganda shilling 79 billion. The agricultural credit facility extra account in Bank of Uganda is therefore in a deficit of Uganda shilling 74 billion. The agricultural credit facility supports agricultural projects to access patient capital for commercial, on-farm investment, post-harvest management, agro-processing, and trade in agricultural produce. We have, under Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, there was an amount cut from liquefied petroleum gas supply and infrastructure intervention of 25 billion. And these funds are required to meet ongoing contractual obligations for liquefied petroleum gas, LPG, promotional kits, service providers, and other LPG interventions such as Hoima LPG storage terminal land. There is also 6.8 billion under Namamve thermal power, and these funds are required for capacity payments for the operations of Namamve thermal power plant for energy security. There is also 4 billion reduced from the mineral regulation infrastructure project, and these are funds required to commence establishment of mineral regulations and revenue collection infrastructure and implementation of the minerals law. These include way bridges and government-regulated markets for precious stones, etc. Under the same vote, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, there was a reduction of 15 billion from rural electrification and connectivity projects. These funds amounting to 15 billion. These funds are required to kickstart works on the major 7 construction roads, and the 7 roads include the following. Under Batch 1 is the Eastern Service Territory, including West Budama South, Tororo South, and the Tororo Municipality in Tororo District, Parisa County, and Gogonyo in Parisa District. Under Batch 2, still in the Eastern Service Territory, covers areas of Usiki in Namutumba, Bukoli South in Bujiri, Kamuli District, Kachumbara in Bukedea District, Mbale Northern Division, and Bungoko in Mbale District and Serere District. Road 3, Northwest Service Territory for Buyanja East in Chibale District, Bugangei South in Kakumiro District, Buhaguzi in Hoima, Hoima City, Chikube, and Buyaga East in Kagadi District. Under Road 4 of West Nile, Central North, and North Service Territory for Ora area in Zombo, Guru Alinga South in Yumbe, Dokoro District, and Lira East in Lira District. West, South, and Southwestern Service Territory for Shema, Ruhinda in Mitoma, Isinjiro, Rubanda, Ibanda, and Soro districts. Western, Central, and Gwenzori Service Territory for Busongora North in Kasese, Fort Portal Central in Kabarole, Chankwanzi, and Bunyangabo districts. Central Service Territory for Bale in Kayunga, Mukono South in Mukono, Butambara, Bukoto East in Masaka, and Chiboga districts. In addition, Madam Chair, these funds are required to commence works of enhancing the SME framework priority interventions for small factories and cottage industries across the country. The SME's framework intervention is aimed at reducing the turnaround time for electricity connection to SMEs.
Board members, can you please listen so that you'll be able to debate? Isu.
We have the subvention under Ministry of Energy called Atomic Council for Council Expenses and Administrative Expenses. This was reduced by 10 billion, and these funds are required to meet staff and operational costs, including salaries, gratuity, rent for office premises, utilities such as water, electricity, security, and cleaning services. We have another subvention called distribution and land management, land acquisition. This was reduced by 10 billion, and the justification for reinstatement is that the energy transmission and distribution is a top priority of government, and these are funds to undertake projects aimed at transmitting energy from Karuma and substations. These funds are also required for compensation of project-affected persons for a number of projects, as well as to undertake critical feasibility studies aimed at increasing electricity transmission and distribution. The major projects include the 345 kilometers of Karuma-Tororo 400 kV transmission line and Ntinda substation for Namanve, residual compensation works for Karuma and Simba HPPs, Itanda and Karagara special conservation areas, and other projects for feasibility studies in generation, transmission, nuclear, and minerals. Under Directorate of Ethics and Integrity, Vote 112, on a sub-program called Ethics and Integrity, General Administration and Support, 5 billion was taken away, and our justification for returning it back is that the funds were allocated to strengthen the adjudication of Leadership Code Act. In addition, the funds are needed to publish the National Anti-Corruption Survey report on the perception and prevalence of corruption. The report affects the country's credit rating score internationally, which is a benchmark for our multilateral partners. Vote 130, Treasury Operations. Under commitment fees, 25 billion was taken away, and our justification to return it or reinstate it is that these are contractual obligations for the loans we have acquired for the implementation of key projects where we have not fully absorbed the funds. Therefore, the projections for the financial year 2024-25 are based on existing loan stock plus agreements that will be entered in the financial year 2024-2025. Under Code 242003, an item called Others, 300 billion was taken away, and these are funds for government obligations under the share subscription agreement in servicing local bills of exchange and payment of EFT bank charges to Bank of Uganda, among others. Under item 242002, interest on treasury bonds, an amount of 100 billion was taken away, and our justification for reinstatement is that we have increased government borrowing to cater for the priorities in the core agenda, and increase in domestic debt refinancing led to the increase in the interest on treasury bond issuances. In financial year 2024-25 budget, interest costs increased due to the increase in debt refinancing from Uganda shillings 8.36 trillion in financial year 2023-24 to Uganda shillings 12.02 trillion in financial year 2024-25, and an increase in net domestic borrowing from Uganda shillings 6.67 trillion in financial year 2023-24 to Uganda shillings 8.97 trillion in financial year 2024-2025. Under item of contingency transfers, an amount of 22.74 billion was taken away, and Madam Speaker, our justification for reinstatement is that Section 26 of the PFMA Act 2015, as amended, requires the contingencies fund to be allocated an amount equivalent to 0.5% of the appropriated annual budget for government of the previous financial year. As such, Uganda shillings 169 billion was provided for the financial year 2024-2025. Reducing the provision by Uganda shillings 22.74 billion implies a breach of the above PFMA requirement. Under 019, Ministry of Water and Environment, on a project called Integrated Water Resources, 4 billion was reallocated, and our justification to return it back is that Government of Uganda counterpart funding. This is Government of Uganda counterpart funding for World Bank financing of various urban water supply and sanitation systems in the towns of Busia, Mbale, and surrounding towns, Butareja, Busorwe, Budaka, Kadama, Tirinyi, Chibuku, Namungarwe, Kaliro, Namasale, Koboko, Rukunjiri, Chejegwa, Mpala, Ruyonza, Kumi, among others. On a project called Support to Rural Water Supply and Sanitation, 10 billion was taken away, and the justification to return it back is that this is funding for the government interventions to increase access to safe and clean water through a source per village in rural areas. The specific interventions include the construction and rehabilitation of point water sources in the communities, expansion of dilapidated piped water supply systems, motorizing and upgrading of high-yield boreholes and solar-powered systems to expand and improve service coverage in various districts of Yumbe, Chankwanzi, Kakumiro, Mubende, Mitiana, Isinjiro, Bulisa, Kasese, Amudat, Agago, Kabong, among others. Under a project called Building Resilient Communities, Wetlands, Ecosystems, and Associated Catchments in Uganda, an amount of 2 billion was reallocated. Our justification to return it back is that the funds are to facilitate ongoing interventions for the restoration of degraded ecosystems, including wetlands, riverbanks, and hillsides in the areas of Chigezi, Choga, Albertine, and Central Uganda, including the promotion of alternative livelihoods to the communities. Under Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, on a project called Improving Access to Use of Agricultural Equipment and Mechanization through the use of labor-saving technologies. 9 billion was taken away, and the justification for reinstatement is that all the funds on earth-moving equipment of Uganda shillings 23 billion in financial year 2023-24 were spent. The reason why they were taking away this, why we are saying this was spent, the reason for taking it away was under absorption.
Procedure.
The annual requirement for funding this key intervention is shillings 40 billion, and this will create a shortfall.
Procedure.
The funds are for procurement of heavy earth-moving equipment, tractors, and matching implements to support agro-processing and value addition. On a sub-program called Animal Resources, Entomology, 5 billion was reallocated, and this reduction leaves only 2 billion to this intervention, which is not sufficient. The funds are meant for the procurement of acaricides and operations of subvention for the control of trypanosomiasis and sleeping sickness. The budget cut will significantly affect the control of the sassafras, which will affect animal productivity and tourism, especially in the areas of Lake Mburo, Queen Elizabeth, since cessation reduction activities are taking place in parks. Under a project called Development of Market-Oriented and Environmentally Sustainable Beef Industry, 10 billion was taken away, and the cut leaves no funds to this intervention, and failure to control animal diseases will affect the export volumes due to reduced production and quality. Under Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, on a project called under recurrent, 5 billion was taken away, and these are funds for development, upgrade, and maintenance of government systems, including business registration, record systems, etc. Under Ministry of Local Government, under workshops and seminars, 4 billion was taken away, and this resource is funding for PDM monitoring and sensitization activities. Monitoring of PDM activities will not be fully undertaken if this resource is not restated. Under advertising and publications, 4 billion was removed. Under consultancy services, 3 billion and 6 billion. Our justification for reinstatement is that as part of fiscal consolidation strategy, government is undertaking deliberate efforts to enhance domestic revenue mobilization, domestic revenue collection, both at central and local government levels. Part of the strategy is to improve revenue administration and specifically automation of collection and reconciliation processes in local governments to reduce leakages and enable real-time monitoring. This is funding for contractual obligations under local revenue collection systems. The planned rollout to 32 additional sites across the country will not be undertaken without this resource. Additionally, there is a possibility of litigation against government if this resource is not provided. Vote 015, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, under subvention called UDC, 20 billion was taken away, and our justification for reinstatement is that UDC is a government's key intervention agency for industrialization. The requirement for capitalization is Uganda shillings 407.33 billion for financial year 2024-2025, and is for investment in projects including national marketing company, cassava processing factory, and Sangavet chemical among others. Under vote 118, Uganda Road Fund. Under transfer to other government units, 40 billion was reallocated, and our justification for reinstatement is that government is faced with funding requirements of Uganda shillings 900 billion to address the road maintenance backlog. This cut will affect district and urban roads, including KCCA, therefore worsening existing road conditions. It will also affect the following interventions: settlement of road maintenance debts carried forward from financial year 2023-24, reduction in much needed periodic maintenance of the paved national road network, and 3, cut back in the maintenance of bridges and culvert installations across the various rivers, streams, and swamps. Under vote 104, Parliamentary Commission, transfer from development to recurrent, 8.93 billion. And Madam Speaker, our justification is that this is agreeable to Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, as the reallocation was within the vote. In other words, it had no effect. Under vote 143, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, under the item of travel inland, 10 billion was reallocated, and our justification for reinstatement is that these are funds for UBOS's key fieldwork activities, specifically for 1, post-census activities. After the census, the Bureau will update the population numbers up to the smallest administration unit, e.g. village. It must also undertake the post-enumeration survey, which is an international requirement to validate the coverage and accuracy of the census results. 2, production of labor market statistics as high frequency indicators.
Honorable members,
produce.
note down a vote that you want to ask. You want a clarification, and then you will get a clarification vote by vote.
Honorable Chair, under UBOS I am reading number 2, production of labor market statistics as high frequency indicators produced on quarterly basis. This intervention was a response to the demand by government and in line with the NDP 3 target for UBOS to update the national employment indicators on a quarterly basis so as to advise policy action and employment and underemployment levels across the sector. The cut will therefore affect UBOS's capacity to undertake labor market surveys and production of required statistics. Under vote 05, Guru Regional Referral Hospital, under a line item called pension and gratuity, 1 billion was reallocated, and our justification for reinstatement is that the vote had excess or unutilized pension worth 1 billion in financial year 2023-24. The vote therefore requested that these excess funds be reallocated to wage. This co-legenda request was approved in that regard and have pension funds reduced. Madam Speaker, in total, all these figures I have read, both recurrent and development, totals to 750.47 billion, which we seek this committee of the whole House to consider for reinstatement of where it was budgeted for originally.
Thank you so much. A specific vote that you need. Susan?
That we are useless actually. The budget should have not been brought. It should have been brought here for reading, and we shouldn't have put any input as Parliament. So it is very disturbing. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think when the budget is brought here, it is sent to the committees for scrutiny. And it calls for our input as members of Parliament.
Information.
Because we represent the people. But now if they are going to refuse what we have put as our input, why doesn't Cabinet then read the budget without taking us
Information,
into
Chair.
committees? Because we put a lot of effort and energy in this. I take the information from the other side. But meantime, Madam Speaker, the corrigenda came in the morning. We did not look at it. Whatever the minister is presenting here, there are very many new things like meat and what and so on. We did not have an opportunity as Parliament to look at it. So it brings a problem of suspicion that they are smuggling in things, and we need this to be rectified here.
Honorable members, process. And can I hear from you? Where it is going?
Chair. Madam Chair, our understanding was that since...
Honorable members, I hope you all have the budget report. And in that budget report, it is there, you have it. It is in the... I want you to check table A and table B of the budget. Table A has where the money was removed, and table B has where the money went. Where there is a debit, there must be a corresponding credit.
Madam Chair, with that guidance, I have nothing useful to add.
Yes.